Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it is time for episode 324 of the MTGGoldfish podcast, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How's it going this fine Monday, Richard?
Hey Seth, we survived another preview season, so things are going well. I'm just trying to catch up on all of the cards from the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm still reading through some of the MDFCs. I'm almost there, almost to the end of the set. A lot of words on this one, but that's neither here nor there. Before we get into all that, we got another co-host in Krim. Krim, how are you this morning?
I am. It is a fun morning. I'm on 2 hours sleep, so let's go. We're excited.
I'm excited for some 2 hour of sleep Krim hot takes this episode.
Oh yes, there will be some of that.
So our podcast today, we got a few different topics. We had some interesting, MPL Rivals / tournament stuff over the weekend that we wanted to talk about. We have some Secret Lair news about a membership or subscription program that Wizards is thinking about. We wanted to share some thoughts on that. And then we still got spoiler stuff. We had Commander 2021 spoilers last week. So at the end of the cast, we're going to talk about some more spoiler cards, some of our favorite cards from C21. And then, of course, get to a couple of fish mail questions. So that is the plan for today's cast. But before we get to that, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit. And if you've ever tried to sell your Magic cards, it's a lot of work, a lot of sorting, a lot of shipping, a lot of typing, and it's not really all that fun. Well, Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your cards. And if you'd like to avoid all those hassles, all the time it takes to sell your cards, this new service from the folks over at Card Hoarder will sort, grade, and sell your Magic cards for you. And once your shipment is processed, you'll get the proceeds minus their fee, and right now you can even get a 10% discount by heading over to cardconduit.com/goldfish. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting the show today, and let's talk some Magic. So yesterday, or this weekend I guess, was our latest MPL / Rivals League weekend, I believe it's called, and it brought with it some changes to the league. Richard, what went down with the tournaments this weekend?
I don't know, Seth. Something went down with the tournaments. What's going on with Pro Magic? But I'll tell you what happened on Twitter. They sent out a series of tweets which basically read like obituaries, where they were announcing the players that basically got demoted or swapped down into Rivals, and then from Rivals out of the league altogether. So there was that series of weird tweets. But then in that chain, they also made another mistake where they mistook one female competitor for another, referencing things that the competitor did not even do. And so that blew up on Reddit as well. And then that kind of just sparked the whole conversation of like, what is MPL and like, what is going on, and like, who is in charge of Wizards social media, and what is Magic esports? And yeah, like, I don't even know that anyone even watched the matches, but this came out of all of it.
Yeah, not many people did. I jumped in and out a little bit over the weekend, and I think they're running at about like 7K or something, which slightly better than a random Magic streamer, individual streamer, but definitely not good as far as esports goes. The drama was interesting. On one hand, I think the regulation thing is necessary. It's just like soccer. Like, we need people to drop out of these leagues so new people have a chance to get into the leagues. So I don't think that structure itself is bad. I think it is a little bit scary if you're a competitor, because once you're out of Rivals, there's not much. Like, that's one of the flaws with the system we've been talking about since they started MPL Rivals. Like, you're either one of the haves who's in MPL or Rivals, or you're the have-nots of challengers. And if you're a challenger, there's really not much going for you. And the odds of getting back into Rivals or back into the MPL are really, really small the way the system is set up. So I think that is that is a concern. I wish there was something more for players who do drop out of Rivals, because going from like, this is my full-time job that I do every day and I have this guaranteed income from playing Magic, to essentially having nothing, that is pretty scary. On the other hand, Wizards is really good at messing stuff up. I know what they were trying to do with the tweets. Like, I think that they were supposed to be like congratulating or honoring these people for being in the MPL and being professional Magic players. The timing wasn't great. It came out at the same time when a lot of people were like feeling bad about getting regulated out of the league, which feel like I keep saying that right, or keep saying that incorrectly.
Relegation, not regulation.
Regulation.
Yep.
Close.
Relegation.
Close enough. Bear with me. But yeah, so the timing was pretty bad, and getting the information wrong was pretty bad. And then I don't know if you saw further down on the tweet chain, Wizards actually responded and was like, hey, this wasn't actually us. We had like outside contractors who were like making these tweets, and they're the ones who messed it up. And I don't know. It was just an absolute mess. And on top of that, no one knows what's going on with this system. Like, I think part of the reason people dropping out of the league was such a big deal was like, no one understands MPL. So when all of a sudden you see your favorite player tweeting like, oh, like my Magic career is essentially done, like paraphrasing, like that would be a shock to a lot of people, because no one understands the structure that's going on with MPL and Rivals. So just a mess all around. And we came out of this big tournament weekend where in theory people should be feeling good. Like, there are people that also performed really well and like guaranteed they're going to Worlds and stuff, but it ended up just being this like huge feel bad that Wizards made worse by wizardsing it up on social media like they usually do.
That was a huge mess when it comes to like the way they revealed stuff. But yeah, like, wow, that was quite the tweet chain. I read the like whatever the announcements of the players a little bit like I think they were trying to build, you know, that drama, that tension that we kind of wanted from like what is esports, right? Like we wanted to follow these players, we wanted the stakes. So much like you had mentioned, I do think that the things that happened, like now you're messing with me. Is it relegation? Yeah, it's relegation.
Regulation.
No, wait, hold on. It is relegation.
Yes, you're correct.
You were feeding me the wrong info. But like, yeah, like with the relegations, I think that kind of had to happen. It's very much so necessary, much like you had mentioned. But I think that's what they were trying to do. How they went about it was a huge mess. But yeah, like the relegations are
this podcast going sideways real quick.
Yeah.
So about Magic regulations.
What was I going to say?
Yeah.
The rules and regulations of Magic. But yeah, the relegations and all that kind of made sense for me, and why they had to happen. It sucks to type out and it sucks to see, but I think like as a spectator, for me, that was, I watched a little bit more, right? Because I knew some people were on the bubble, I guess. So I wanted to see how they did. And that was what made me watch. And I kind of like that from, you know, Magic as an esport. So, but the thing I didn't like was a lot of like the random confusion of stuff. And once again, the entire debacle that was the whole social media post. And like, how do you get back in? There's just like no info. And yeah, so like that's just the biggest thing with it right now. I think just how do I get back in? If I want to get in, how do I start? Like, is there a certain amount of like planeswalker points? Wait, those don't exist anymore. What are they? Mythic points? Points. That like, how do I get back in? That's the big question.
So I think there's just so much wrong to unpack here. Like, after the Super Bowl, you don't send out a tweet saying, farewell, Kansas City Chiefs. You know, you tried hard and I'll see you next year. Like, no, you talk about the winning team, the people that get promoted, right? So, and then on top of that, like, I swear they're just trolling, right? Like, they're using words you would use in an obituary, right? You're saying like farewell, goodbye. Like, you're saying like these weird, words that you wouldn't use normally. So it really felt like you're just reading like random obituaries, which was super awkward. And then Seth mentioned the mistaken players, right? Where they were referring to Allie and they're talking about Embercleave and things like that. And she does not like Embercleaves. And then they doubled down on it, saying they looked over the tweet history and it was correct. And, you know, it just like became a big mess, right? They like double and triple down. Like they could have just been like, oh, very, very sorry to competitors. We like made a mistake, right? But back to the league topic, right? I think after doing MPL for 1 year, 2 years now, I think it's a big failure, right? Like when we started this, it sounded good on paper where we're like, okay, we're going to pay people money to play Magic. This is great. You can make a career out of, you know, playing Magic competitively with some stable income. Sounds great on paper. In reality, I think it just makes Magic look terrible, right? You're like, okay, who are the greatest Magic players of all time? Still playing, like LSV, Paulo. Where are they? Are they in Rivals? Are they even in the league? Are they in MPL? The fact that you have like Raphael Levy, Hall of Fame, out of MPL is bad, right? Like you can't have like your best players of all time in the B League or not even in the B League, like just out of the league altogether, right? It just looks bad for Magic. So I think they need to scrap it and go back to the old system where all of your favorite pros are in the same tier. So it doesn't look awkward when LSV gets relegated and you're like, what? I thought he was good, right? Because Magic is a coin flip game and you have like a 53% chance of winning, this stuff happens. So the bar needs to be low enough such that your star players are always in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even the old system, I think, was better in that regard because then you could just like follow whoever. And even if LSV isn't in the league or whatever, but he's playing a pro tour, you can just like, he's there and you can follow him and like in coverage or whatever. So I feel like the MPL has been basically a failure in almost every possible way. Like Twitch views are down, players, there are upsides, I guess, in stability for a small number of players. Like your earnings are not exclusively based on your tournament performances. So I guess it takes away some level of stress where it's like, oh, if I go on a bad run for a few months, can I pay my rent doing this? But at the same time, as we've seen this weekend with people dropping out of the league, there's no safety net. It's either you're in this or you're nothing, essentially. So it's not even necessarily better for players, and it's certainly not better for all the players that don't have access to it. The Sam Blacks of the world who, you know, almost were invited to the MPL to begin with, but no one knew the criteria or that it was even happening. So no one knew you need to do good this one specific season. And then you have these people that have just been left out completely. So it's kind of a failure for viewers. It seems like it's a failure for Wizards. It doesn't even seem like it's been a success for the pros. Why are they even holding on to this system when everyone wants, to go back to something like the other system, or at least have this system adapted in a way that would be more beneficial or more positive? Is it just that, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, does Wizards just not care? Are they just like all aboard the casual train and they're like, we don't care, like 2,000 people can watch our pro tours on Twitch and everyone can hate everything about this and whatever, like we're getting the money from our Commander precons at Walmart or whatever?
I think they just flat out don't know.
They gotta know. Viewership is down, right? Like people don't watch MPL. Like that is something. You're like, when is the MPL schedule? No idea. Who's in the MPL? No idea, right? Like, and it's like, we are so entrenched, right? Imagine like the casual person. They don't know anything about this, right? So like Wizards has to know on some level, and they're committed at some level, right? They are paying the salaries of all these players, right? That is money they're expending into this. So I agree with Krim that it's like, they don't know how to fix it, or they don't know like how to make it better or something, right? But they got to know it's like not working, and they got to know they're trying, right? They're putting money into it, at least they're putting resources into it, but it's just not working out at all, right?
Yeah, like I think that after this is year 2, yeah. So after the first year, okay, well, let's see how it unfolds. Now we've kind of seen it 2 years, like and then it just doesn't it hasn't done what it was intended to do, right? I mean, especially when you think about where it started. The Mythic Invitational being there, great views in numbers, right? Like regardless, you know, I think that was, I would consider that a success. And then since then, it's just gradually just fallen down in numbers and views, and it hasn't even gotten close to climbing back up. So at this point now, Wizards does need to fix this and fix it fast, or they are literally just sinking like money and nobody is really benefiting from it.
Wait, what's the relationship between MPL and like Kaldheim Championship? Like if you do well at MPL, you're seeded into it, or how does
everyone from, okay, so my understanding is that like Kaldheim Championship is essentially a Pro Tour replacement. Everyone from MPL and Rivals gets invited, but your benefit is earning these like league points. And that's what we saw with the relegations, is the lowest people in terms of points for the whole season get knocked out of the league. If you're in Rivals and you're at the top of Rivals, you get bumped up to MPL. The worst of MPL goes down to Rivals. So essentially that's the system that they're trying to do. And I don't even think they're doing that well. I always kind of thought the relegation idea was interesting because that's how they do it with soccer for the most part over in Europe. And I always thought that adds a lot of tension, even for the worst teams in the league, because you're playing for something. In American sports, if you're the Buffalo Bills and you lose your first 5 games, like no one cares the rest of the year, because whatever, like you're going to be bad. You're not going to make the playoffs. But if you're bad in a European soccer league, you still have a reason to play because you want to be good enough to not get relegated out of the league. But I don't even understand how Wizards is doing this, because the season isn't even done. Like they booted some people out of Rivals and MPL yesterday, but the season's still going for several more events. And they also knocked out the top performing people. Strosky went on a huge heater and won 11 matches in a row this weekend or something. And because he did so well, he's now also out of the league for the rest of the season, but guaranteed to be back in it next season. So you don't even have like the rooting for the Patriots to go undefeated or something. So if you do really good, they make you stop playing Magic. If you do really bad, they boot you out of the league. And they're not even doing it at the end of the season. They're doing it partway through the season, which is very different than like soccer or something. So the structure, the more I learn about what they're trying to do, the less I understand the structure of MPL and Rivals and what their plan is for it. It just gets
if you
weirder
do
and
really
weirder.
well, you get removed from MPL. What?
I think it's like they are trying to nerf the best player. So
basically, like Strasky,
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
So Strasky
Are you
is still in it
unpaced
next
beat
year.
records? Let me remove you.
Yeah,
Let me remove
exactly.
you.
I think the reasoning, I guess, is like so that you're like, it's like, hey, you've essentially got buys.
Buys into
Right,
what
like,
though? Like what is the
into
benefit of
next
being
year.
removed?
Next
Into
year.
next
So like
year.
you don't have to worry about like, hey, am I gonna lose my spot? You're good. You're locked.
But a whole year's worth of buys.
So I
like what? That's a long time.
yeah, like so essentially you got buys for a year, which is
Strasky's like, yeah, I got some time off. I'm gonna like play some Hearthstone. I'm gonna learn chess. Like I don't gotta play Magic for a while because he did so well. Isn't he exactly who you want
seen
playing?
as a reward.
Like how do you build stars if you don't have them play in your events because they're doing so well?
Yeah, that makes zero sense. Like, you've done so well this, like, regular season. You don't need to play the Super Bowl or anything else.
The more Seth explains it, the less it makes sense. I like to go back to I don't know anything that's going on with MPL, and it's fine. But it's just so confusing.
Yeah, like I didn't even. I'm learning as we go. Right
Platinum
now,
Pros or whatever. Right. Let's go back to a simple. You play a regional qualifier, right? You play a PTQ. You go to regional qualifiers, right? You go to a pro tour. It's like very simple, right? Very grindable. You put in the time, you can show up, right? Or you can be Finkel and just show up and win anyway, right? Like MPL excludes people like Finkel because he does not want to use all his time playing Magic, right? But he's good enough to just randomly show up, practice for 2 weeks, and then school some fools, right? So I don't know, right? Like I just don't
dunk on everybody.
I don't understand what's going on, but I've like just given up hope, and it's like not even easy to understand what's going on, right? It's I don't even know like what the points are for and what the next event is and what's actually relevant, what's not relevant. It's just a big mess.
I also feel pretty bad for Allie too, and it feels like maybe the way that Wizards did discretionary invites kind of ended up backfiring because they wanted more representation in high level Magic, which is awesome. But hearing Allie talk about it since getting relegated yesterday, from what she says, she feels like she was kind of just like tokenized, and Wizards were like, hey, you're a pro Magic player now. And then didn't really give her any support. She tried to get on testing teams and couldn't get onto any testing teams. They wouldn't let her or whatever, didn't invite her. So she kind of feels, from what she's been saying on Twitter, like they just wanted a woman to be a pro, but didn't actually care if she as a person succeeded as a pro Magic player or do anything to help her succeed as a pro Magic player. So even that aspect of it, where Wizards is trying to do something positive and good, ends up somehow in a very wizardy way, like maybe backfiring and hurting people rather than helping them. So just every single aspect of the MPL, like it's really hard to pick out any positives for anyone based on the feedback from all the people who have been involved in the league over the past, couple of days since this tournament, as well as just the fact that the community doesn't really seem to care because no one watches it. So it's very hard to pick out any positives of this system from my perspective. It seems like it's just bad for pretty much everyone. I guess maybe if you are the top, 0.001% and you're like making it to the top of MPL every year, you're guaranteed, a salary, which is nice. But other than that, it seems like it's just hurting everyone.
Well, I mean, you don't want to do too well. You get benched. yeah. I mean...
Oh boy,
man! Imagine like drafting like how you would do fantasy football. Ooh, I don't know if I want to draft the top running back right now because
he might not be able to play because he's too good.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna need you to slow down that performance there, bud. I'm gonna need you to slow down that performance.
Yeah. Strasky should have taken some intentional draws just to stay in the league for longer so he could keep playing.
Yeah, like it's, but I mean, like, yeah. So right now, that is the most important thing. Is like, what is the MPL? Year 2, okay. First year, all right, sure. Maybe I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here. Year 2, it just looks like more of year 1, except with more people in it
and less people watching it.
Yeah. That's the worst. There's a lot more people like playing in it and a lot less people watching it. So they need to turn this around. Like, and if I don't even think it's salvageable at this point, right? Like, I mean, what is the first thing that they would have to do? Just like I guess before we change topics, what is the first thing they would have to do? Because it feels like they have to do so many things, and I think for me, it's just how do I get in?
Yeah, and that's not super clear. I think you can like spike a tournament, which could get you to another tournament. And then if you spike that tournament, you could get into Rivals, or you could be invited based on criteria that's not really known. Like there were some people, Chris Kvartek, I think his name is. Yeah, was someone who didn't technically qualify by the ways that you normally would, but did pretty good at tournaments or good enough at tournaments that they invited him. But even that's like just super confusing. I feel like the one aspect of the MPL that I do like is giving pros a stable income. Like, I think there is some value to that. The problem is I think you could do that and still have something similar to the old system where it was very clear. Like, couldn't you have done essentially the same thing by increasing benefits to like platinum pros and giving them a higher guaranteed income under the old system, but then still had an attainable system where someone could feel like, oh, I could go and like win this GP and then I go to a pro tour. And then if I do good at that pro tour, I qualify for more pro tours. Like, that's pretty understandable compared to like this system where no one knows how to get into it. If you do too bad, you get kicked out of it and don't know how to get back into it. And if you do too good, they put you on the sidelines until the next year. Like, it doesn't make, none of it makes any sense. Like, I don't even know if they should continue doing it, honestly. Like, I think I agree with you, Krim. maybe they just need to rebuild from the ground up and give it another shot. If they're not willing to just revert to something similar to the old system, like maybe they just go back to the drawing board and start over, because I don't know if the MPL is fixable.
All right, I'll fix it for you.
I'm legit worried. Like, I think that if this doesn't work, there's like this looming thought over my head that they are just going to be done. Like, because like, are they going to do it again? Right? Pro Magic has been such a thing, like a debacle for, like, it's just such a mess, right? When it comes to whatever Pro Magic is, and like, I mean, maybe they just cut it entirely.
Yeah, I think they might conclude that no one wants Pro Magic, right? But the answer is really no one wants this weird offering of Pro Magic you're giving us, right? Like, we still want to watch Pro Magic, but not this. But I think it's super easy to fix this, right? Just throw away MPL, right? Just give it up. Go back to the old system where you have just large open tournaments like the Pro Tour or like Grand Prix, which qualify you for the Pro Tour, right? And what you need to do is, one, change the timing of your tournaments so that they're a week after set release so that people actually care, right? Nobody cares about high-level Magic in a stale metagame. They only care when pros are innovating. And the only time they can innovate is like the first week of set release. After like 4 days, the metagame is already solved, right? There's just so many games. And then what they need to do is flatten the prize structure, right? As a pro, it is like impossible to win one of these big tournaments, right? It is like a coin flip. You'll never make it, right? But it is realistic to be like top 64. You can consistently hit like top X numbers. So they need to flatten the prize structure so that it's not as top heavy, right? You don't make all the money if you win or top 8, but like top 64 or something that's actually achievable gets a good payout, such that you can actually keep going to Grand Prix and Pro Tours, consistently hit top 64, and then get the benefits you would have gotten from Platinum or whatever, right? So I think they just got to flatten it out a little bit so that it's more realistic, and then go back to the old thing, right? I think right after set release, everyone is hype, everyone's watching, and then we get to know about our pros. But no one cares like 6 weeks after the last set release into the next preview season. Like, no one cares about Standard anymore.
I don't understand that is definitely a big one. Like, yeah, like how are you going to call it, Pro Tour, whatever, Mythic Championship, Kaldheim, like 4 days before Strixhaven? Right? So I just don't get that. Like, so
what would be exciting would be early access day Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Like, before the set releases, make them play with it. They don't have deck lists. There's none of that. So like, that would make for a Pro Tour that I would be so excited to watch. I'm sure some pros wouldn't like it because it would be difficult and you probably wouldn't end up with as good of a deck as if you had more time and testing and lists to deal with. But that would be a tournament that would be incredible.
That would be like, if the pros just played Strixhaven right now, that would be incredible.
Like block?
No, like Strixhaven Standard, because they've had like a week with the cards previewed to test and practice and build, and then they play now before all the data is solved on Arena and Moto and all of the data aggregators and all of that, right? We would actually see like different brews, not like homogenized decks that we've seen like on, say, MTGGoldfish.com, right? Like. So I think Seth's idea of an actual early access for these premier level events is actually pretty cool.
I mean, there was always an SCG event on opening weekend.
Yep.
Right? So,
I miss those.
So I think that's something, if not early access, just on the weekend of release on Arena, not paper release, that's when you can go ahead and just drop a tournament there too. So either early access or just weekend of, but no later than a week away or like a week after.
Yep. I mean, the metagame's already solved a week after, right? Like, no one cares anymore. Yeah. Like, just give it to me as fresh as possible.
Yeah, the sooner the better, I think. Definitely the like 6 or 8 weeks after a set release is the least appealing time. So I think when it comes down to it, this weekend just didn't go well in a bunch of ways. The structure is weird. The players had issues with it. Wizards PR was also definitely lacking. So just about any way this could have went poorly, it did go poorly. And hopefully it turns around soon, because I also have the fear that Krim does a little bit, that at some point someone at Wizards is just going to throw their hands up and be like, well, we're only getting 7,000 viewers. This is a constant headache of people yelling at us at social media. So, why are we even doing this Pro Magic thing anymore? Let's just make more Secret Lairs or sell more Commander decks. Like, that's where the money's at anyway. So I also have that fear and hope that that's not what happens. So anyway, let's move on to another fun topic that caused some uproar this week: Secret Lair drops. So Wizards sent around a survey to people about Secret Lair drops, and specifically their interest in Secret Lair, like subscription or membership model where you'd pay so much money and get these benefits. Richard, what were they asking about in this survey?
All right, this is spicy. So this is just a survey. So Wizards always sends out surveys asking you about random stuff. And this time it was a Secret Lair focused survey. They were floating around two ideas. And one idea is a subscription where you agree to pay for and receive one of each Secret Lair drop. And I think the professor did a video on this, and he tallied in 2020, that was like almost $1,000 of Secret Lairs if you just count one premium version of each Secret Lair. And then they also floated a second idea of a membership program where you would pay X dollars, where X was different for whoever took the survey. So some people had $200, some people had $300, but you would get the opportunity to purchase 4 exclusive member drops, get a 10% discount on all Secret Lair purchases, free shipping on all orders, and orders ship the day of the sale. So some kind of agreement to buy all Secret Lairs. And also, if you pay extra money, you also get to buy all the Secret Lairs, but you get some perks such as exclusive drops and a slight discount. But that discount doesn't work out to much, right? Because 10%, you would have to spend $3,000 or $2,000 to break even. But in, last year, it was only $1,000 Secret Lairs. So yeah, some people are outraged. Some people are like, you don't have to buy this if you don't want it, right? Where do you guys fall on this new direction of Secret Lair that Wizards is playing around with, right? This is their asking. They're not doing it yet, right? They're just checking. They're checking their feet in the water.
Oh, so I have a few thoughts on this one. So first off, I hope it's optional. I think if people have to pay money to access Secret Lairs, that would be really bad. And I'm pretty firmly against exclusive Lair drops. Lair drops already are time limited. I really don't want them to have to charge people so much money for the option to buy 4 exclusive Lair drops a year. That system just seems really ripe for abuse, especially considering there's no reason Wizards couldn't print unique cards in those or do something like that. So I'm very firmly against any membership program, subscription program, including exclusive drops. So that's my biggest thing. On the other hand, if Wizards wants to have Amazon Prime for Secret Lairs, essentially, where you're like, you pay so much a year and you get faster shipping, you get free shipping, and you get a discount, that doesn't bother me. If it's completely optional, you can still buy all the Secret Lairs the way you have been doing them. To me, that seems perfectly fine. Would that matter to most people? No, probably not. Probably most people would still just, pick up a layer here or there that they like. On the other hand, like, shipping is $10, I believe, a drop. So if you're buying 20 drops a year or something, combining the shipping with the 10% discount, there would be some people who I think would actually benefit from a system like that. So as a completely optional Amazon Prime type program, I would not be offended by this. As something that gives exclusive Lair drops, or would be mandatory to access Lair drops, that I would be pretty firmly against.
Yeah, I'm worried about a little bit of the what they could print something that's like actually, I don't know, legal in older formats, like more RICs or something like that, right? But however, as somebody who has bought a ton of Secret Lairs, and like just loves promos, I think I would subscribe to a service like this, because I think all around I've spent probably a lot on shipping. Because like some of these drops are just, I'll just buy like one drop. Like I think the most recent one it was like Inferno Titan and Grave Titan, like in Croxa, that drop. I only got that in like, I guess the fairies, but I didn't, well, surprise, I didn't get the Simic one. Yeah, like, so like that, something like that would be interesting. I think they're just doing this also as a way to kind of like tally earlier on so you don't have to wait as long for all your stuff. It's like, hey, all right, so we have people that are for sure going to buy some stuff. So we don't have to do this thing where they're made to order.
Yeah, so I think I agree with Seth in like, you know, agreeing to buy all the secret layers and getting a slight discount is okay. But having exclusive drops behind them is not, right? Because, you know, they could just drop, you know, oh, here's Secret Lair fetch lands only for exclusive members. Or here is the new Lord of the Rings Secret Lair only for exclusive members containing vintage all-star, whatever the heck this new card is, right? And I think that becomes a big problem. And I think just this whole notion of Secret Lair is becoming problematic. People are already salty about Secret Lair, and I think they're just doubling down on it, right? Like, remember when Secret Lairs first came out, we're like, what about LGSs? Wizards was just selling cards directly. And then they released like 1 billion Secret Lairs, and now they're trying to like go further down it. So I don't like this, and I don't buy the argument of like, if you don't like it, don't participate. Because I feel like psychologically, it'll still affect you, right? If I gave Seth $1,000 for free, Seth would be ecstatic, right? Like, oh, thanks for the $1,000. But if he turned around and learned that I gave Krim $2,000, he would be very upset all of a sudden, right? Even though he just got $1,000 for free, he just knows that Krim got $2,000. He's like, yo, what's up, man, right? And I feel that's what you're kind of creating with this kind of exclusivity. Like, players may not be able to afford it, but if they know it exists out there, they'll feel bad. So I don't know. I just don't like where all this is going. I think secret layers are okay, but like it's just so confusing now. There's just so many promos. We have so many. And if we have so many, are they still special? Like, do you care about the new secret layers, or do you care about the new mystical archives? Or do you care about the extended border cards? Right? Or do you care about etch foils? Right? I don't know. There's like so many cards now. It's a little confusing, and this is just extracting more money out of the existing player base. I'd rather see Wizards expanding their product line to get new players. Right? Wizards needs to double their revenue, fine. But grab new players. Stop trying to like squeeze more money out of my pockets, right? Like, I already pay so much to play this game. Like, get new players, make them pay some money, right? Like, stop going after me, right? I don't need more shiny promos, right? Like, I don't know.
So do you think this will happen? I mean, it's just a survey, but I kind of feel like they had so much information and had thought it out so much that I got the impression that they're probably planning on doing this and just like trying to figure out the details of it. It seems unlikely to me that they would have, you know, price points and all these benefits and stuff figured out. If it was just like, hey, what if there was a Secret Lair membership? Would you be interested? Yes or no? Okay, sure. Who knows what'll happen? I expect that this is going to happen in one form or another.
Yeah, I think it's happening in one form or another. I think all this is saying is like FOMO works, right? The fear of missing out, exclusivity, paying premium prices have made them like money like hand over fist. So they are trying to figure out how to do more of that. And we've already seen it with like, you know, like standard products, right? Now we have mystical archives. We have mystical archives in 2 languages. We have etched foils. Like they just keep trying to figure out like how to make things more exclusive and how to get more money out of these things and how to charge more for these cards. So I think Secret Lairs will change in the future. Remember, we saw that, you know, the Walking Dead, it's like, okay, that was like a brand crossover, and that was new unique cards, right? That was a new thing they pushed in Secret Lair. I expect like more new things to happen this year and next year.
And that will definitely drive people to the subscription service, just like What If, right? So
yeah. I mean, like Krim's already gonna buy it, right? Like it's like we complain about this, but like this is great for Krim, right? As a consumer, he buys all the Secret Lairs anyway.
Yeah, I right? pretty much buy all the Secret Lairs. So I would love it. I don't buy main set as much because I just get Secret Lairs. I like promos, and I don't really care about everything else. I just get.
And
singles.
Crim's opinion is the only one that matters because he's the one buying Secret Lairs. Like me and Seth, we don't buy Secret Lairs, so the fact that we don't like it doesn't even matter, right? Like we don't do anything, right? But Crim buys all the Secret Lairs, so his opinion matters, and he would buy the service. So based on that, I do think it's going forward, right? Like if you bought all the Secret Lairs, you would love this, right?
I just hope they don't do exclusive drops. Do what you got to do. I'm fine with it. Just don't do the exclusive drop thing. Either that can go wrong in two ways. Either they can print the next Walking Dead exclusive card and have it break vintage, or they can sucker a bunch of people into paying $200-$300 with these exclusive drops being the big payoff, and then have it be, you know, a bunch of basic lands or something that people are actually excited for.
Full art Comet Storm.
Yes, Creative Redemption, Comet Storm.
It's Oko.
Master Sets All
Go
Stars.
Crim. Yeah, you get exclusive Oko and Uro. It's called Secret Lair Simic.
It's Secret Lair Salty is what I would just call that.
Oh, wow. All right. Any other Secret Lair thoughts, or should we hit up some Commander cards?
All right.
Let's Commander it.
Let's hit up Commander. So this past week, we got all of the the pre-con decks for Commander 2021. And included in those decks are the new cards. So we're going to talk about some of the more interesting cards, but the full decks and themes are on the website, MTG Previews. And we also, the Commander Clash crew, did the Quandrix deck. So we're not going to talk about any of the Quandrix cards here. If you want to know about the Quandrix cards, you can actually check out the Commander Clash podcast, where we're joined by Tomer and we talk about all the cards in depth. So first off, this is my card that I chose. And I think this is interesting because it's mono white card draw, and it's Archaeomancer's Map. It's 2 and a white. It's an artifact at rare. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic planes, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player controls more lands than you, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Is this card good? I already had a discussion with Tomer about this.
I feel like Tomer didn't like this.
Tomer likes it.
Really?
Tomer thinks this is the best card in the set, or one of the best. And I think it's like severely overrated.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought I was the only one. This is the card that when I did the spoiler video, I was like, I don't think this card's, it's very good. It's like a bad burgeoning. It doesn't really do all that much. You got to be behind, and then it only ramps you a little bit. And everyone was like, you are so wrong. This is the best card. It's the White Cultivate. This card is so amazing. So I don't see it. I don't see this as a card that I would just auto include in every white deck, but apparently everyone else does. So maybe I'm the one that's missing it in this case.
I don't think this, nor do I think, what is it, Monologue Tax? I don't think this card is that.
That's my next card.
I think these two are just do nothings. Like in Commander and what you can do in Commander, these don't feel like they do much of anything. Monologue Tax, it doesn't do anything. Archaeomancer's Map, it doesn't even put a land, so Archaeomancer's Map enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 2 basic planes cards, reveal them, put them in your hand. Hold on, what? So not a single one of these go onto the battlefield, unless whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if the player controls more lands than you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield. Yeah, I don't know, this seems not good. This just doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so I think this is bad, and I will play this in every white deck for the rest of the season until I get fed up with it and remove it, just to make sure that my opinion of it is correct, right? But it is not 3-mana Divination or 3-mana Cultivate, right? Because a Divination, late game, you can draw into gas, right? This thing just draws you into more planes, which is probably not what you're wanting out of your card draw. And early game, you need to play this on curve, and you need to hope someone is ahead of you to actually ramp. I've had so many games with mono white where I'm playing conditional ramp, and it doesn't ramp me because I went first, or there's no green player, right? In the ideal situation, you play this green player explosive vegetations, you win, right? Like you managed to live the dream scenario. But a lot of times you're the one in charge, you're winning. You know, you maybe have done something and are ahead, and then this does nothing for you. This just puts you behind, right? You just lost the card, right? I do think you can build around this card if you have artifact synergies, right? If you play things like Lotus Field to somehow reduce your lands, right? This could work, but I think it's too conditional, that it's like an okay card, not, great. And I don't think I want to put this in every deck, but I will just to try it to make sure I'm not wrong.
Could this just say?
Yeah, I think it's severely overrated.
Could this just say a plains card? Would that make it better? Like if it got you
can get dual lands or something. I think Wizards think this is really good, so they had to like tone down the power level. I think they think it's pretty good. You don't want to get like
Sacred
2 dual
Foundry.
lands. That'd be too good.
I guess you could get cycling lands that would help. You could turn it into real card draw in the late game, but I don't think it would be too good. And the other mode is Burgeoning for 3 mana instead of 1 mana. And Burgeoning isn't even like a staple ramp spell. And that doesn't have the restriction that you got to be behind on lands. It's just whenever your opponents play a land, you put a land into play. And that isn't something that most decks play. That's something that shows up in like Azusa decks or other extra land drop style decks. So I feel like the basis or foundation of this card isn't even that strong to begin with, really. It's another card that green just does so much better.
Well, I mean, that's a high bar. You can't top that. Anything green does.
All right. Next up, Krim already alluded to this monologue tax. 2 and a white enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, you create a treasure token. Is this Smothering Tithe? Is this fixed Smothering Tithe? Is this even playable?
No, it is no across the board. No, it's not Smothering Tithe. No, it's not playable. This is just gonna be, I'm gonna pay 3, you get the Storm player, I guess. Here, have a treasure token. I'm still going off. Right? I don't see how this is even remotely playable. This card is really bad. It's just 3 mana, actually. Oh my god, I don't even know what this does. There's no reason to ever have it. I don't know. I just would rather have a board wipe or something. It's just like in place of this. I'd rather have a creature, anything, card draw spell. That new draw 3 and your opponent draws 3. I would take that over this.
All right, so I think Krim's a little bit too low on this card. Is it Smothering Tithe? No, it's not Smothering Tithe. It's not super close to Smothering Tithe. Fix Smothering Tithe? I think I could buy Fix Smothering Tithe. On the other hand, I think this card's playable. I think that players are not going to not cast 2 spells in a turn because this is on the battlefield. And it's only 3 mana. I don't think you have to make 20 treasure tokens for this to be worthwhile. I think that over the course of a game, if you can play this on turn 3, you're going to make plenty of treasure tokens to make it worth it. So I actually think this can be a staple of white decks, but I do think it is way worse than Smothering Tithe. I do think it's way better than the last card we talked about, though. If I was going to choose a 3 mana white ram spell, it would definitely be this one.
I would agree with Krim.
I would take
this card is unplayable.
I think I'd take Archaeomancer's map over this.
I think I would take the map over this actually, because the map has high upside, right? Where if you go after the cultivate player, you actually did something useful. This is no way, right? Because it's 3 mana. Are you expecting your opponent to double spell on turn 3? They may not, right? And are all 3 opponents? You're not going to come out mana positive for a long time. And by the time you come out mana positive, it's like you don't need mana anymore. So I feel like, if this was in my hand, and let's say this was a companion card, right? Like if it was somehow in my hand for free on turn 3, I wouldn't cast it. It's a waste of mana. I would cast like a bird, right? Like I'm just going down 3 birds mana even to maybe come back a mana when I come back around, right? So.
And
I think it's not that playable unless you have a specific reason, there's a specific combo or something. But I don't think it's that good.
I wouldn't, and I definitely wouldn't want to draw this in the late game, right? Because this just does a lot of nothing in the late game. So there's just no part of the game where I want to see this. Really, the only reason I'm playing this is because I like the artwork. Maybe.
All right, hang on. Since we're talking treasures, what do you think of a Tempting Contract?
Which one is that again? There's so many cards this
Hold
season.
on, let me pull it up. That's actually on our list. Oh, this is the 4-mana artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, you create a treasure token.
I would play this over that.
But
I would.
It's
one
better, but still bad.
Yeah. It's sorry. It's not good.
It does literally nothing though. If your 3 opponents, which I mean it's commander, so it's probably not going to happen. But if your 3 opponents agree to just pretend like this card doesn't exist, it does literally nothing. The question is, can you get 3 commander players to agree to that? Because I feel like this is a card that, even though it could do literally nothing, is actually going to make you a lot of treasures. Because you're going to have the one person that does it. You're going to have the one person that refuses to pay for any triggers or say no to anything. And then you're going to have the spite person who got mad that the first person took a treasure when they didn't really need the treasure. I think it's just going to end up making you 3 treasures a turn.
Yeah, let's say it
because
makes
of
you
how politics work.
Let's say it makes you 2 treasures. Like, let's say Tomer's at the table and he refuses. And then you get 2 treasures, your opponents get 2 treasures. Is this even worth spending 4 mana for? It's like Smothering Tide, except your opponent's getting treasures randomly, right?
I think it's pretty bad, but I actually just love the political aspects of it. This is one of my favorite cards from all of Commander 21. But I do think that it's pretty bad. And
I'd rather play Thran Dynamo, right? You want ramp, just play some ramp that actually works rather than hoping people ramp you, but when they ramp you, they're getting ahead and they know it, so they're willing to make that trade-off, right? You're just paying mana for them.
You know this is how it's gonna go. It's like Seth's just always gonna give himself a treasure. If someone plays this, Seth's like, oh yeah, it's the reverse of the pay one. Did I get one? Nice. All right.
Even if I don't need the mana, I'm taking it.
Hellbent.
I have a Zendikar Resurgent, whatever. Still, yeah, give me that treasure.
It's the same reason Howling Mine is bad and you don't auto-include it in every deck, because you're giving your opponents 3 card and you get 1. Right here, I guess you're not only getting the same number of treasures back, so maybe it's okay.
It's better than the enchantment we just talked about, so I would take this over. Okay, maybe Archaeomancer's map or whatever, still better than this.
No, I think this is the best.
No,
one
actually, this is
yeah. Okay, next up we have Ink Shield, 3 white/black instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. For each 1 damage prevented, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying.
This is absolutely wild, right? This is whatever the spider fog, but I think this can actually kill you.
And this is insane, right? You prevent 30 damage, you make 32 ones, right? You make 60 power.
They fly, by the way. Once again, they fly.
It's like deflecting Palm a little bit. Someone attacks you and you do this and you hopefully get enough tokens that you just attack them back for lethal and they die instead of you dying. I think this card's just power level wise gotta be one of the strongest in the set. I guess leaving up 5 mana might be a little bit awkward in some decks, but wow, the power level is insane.
Also imagine that you get Anointed Procession on board and somebody attacks you. Yeah, sign me up.
I just love that you can blame them. Someone attacks you and you cast this, and then when you untap and go to kill them with the flyers, you're you shouldn't have attacked me. It's not my fault. You did this to yourself. That's on you that you're dying right now. You could attack someone else.
Yeah. This is such a good card. I love this card. Oh my god. It does everything. It's so cool. Artwork and everything. This is just a home run for me. There's nothing more for me to really say other than this is just a fun card. And like you had mentioned, just you're why you're dying and potentially more.
This card is really strong, but I hate this design. It prevents combat. It's like playing I don't know, you need a counter spell, right? There's no counterplay to this. Your counterplay is I'm not going to attack my opponent. Otherwise, how are you going to kill him, right? The only counterplay is you attack into this and then you counter the Ink Shield. So I actually really dislike this card in terms of what it does to the game.
The 2 dirtling players love the card. The 1 aggressive player hates the card.
You can't do anything. You have to counter spell it, right? I guess you could attack with 1. No, you can't, right? You can't even attack with 1 creature. You can't do anything. right? You just have to deal no damage, which does not progress the game, right?
This card is obviously like, oh yeah, like, cause like, you know, I would say that it would be not as bad if it were just like, oh, well, you only get 1/2/1 because it's only for every creature attacking, but it's for every one damage. So one big Voltron creature could still get bodied by this.
Yeah, that's the biggest difference between this and Spider Fog. Spider Fog gives you one for each attacking creature that's attacking you. This is for each damage, which is insane.
It just gets better.
Creatures are huge. Like, it's not uncommon for a random commander attack to be at least 10 damage. And then you're like trying to block it or prevent it. And like, this is going to make so many tokens. This is one of the best token producers I think we've ever seen. Like, even discounting the fog and killing people, like, you're going to be making easily 20 power worth of flyers for 5 mana with this pretty consistently.
Yeah. I'm pretty much going to let y'all know this now. If I play black and white, this is going in every deck. Like,
I mean, it can be Settle the Wreckage. We don't know what's. Like, there's no way to attack it to open white mana now or white and black mana.
I kind of like this. Says the Esper Super Friends player, but like, yeah, like I really like this, and I like having Settle the Wreckage up. Evacuation. There's so many instant speed shenanigans now that you could do that would wipe a board. Or
the only answer is to play stacks to make sure you don't have untapped mana. Right? Because you can't counter anything unless you're blue. So the only way to stop these things is to literally play stacks and prevent your mana. All right, next up we have Felisa, Fang of Silverquill, 2 white and a black, 3/2 legendary creature, vampire wizard, flying mentor. When a non-token creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 white and black inkling creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of counters it had on it.
This seems amazing, right? Like, as a commander, this is so powerful.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Marchesa, a little bit, how you get the benefit from your creature dying and it puts counters on your stuff. So it kind of reminds me of like Orzhov Marchesa, except this can definitely make a ton of power as well because it triggers off the number of +1/+1 counters. Imagine you're like, whatever, Stonecoil Serpent or something, being sacrificed with this out. You're just going to make a ridiculous board full of flyers. So yeah, I think this is a pretty powerful commander. And I kind of like it. Like, we have a lot of token synergies in white and black. White black tokens is kind of a thing. We don't have a lot of +1/+1 counter synergies. So it's kind of, that aspect of it is kind of a new archetype to commander as far as Orzhov +1/+1 counters.
Hangerback Walker, Walking Ballista. A lot of fun things you could be doing here. It has mentor for some reason. That's a weird keyword I didn't expect on this, but it's a vampire, and vampires love +1/+1 tokens too. So you can make some pretty sweet decks with this. Next up, Pest Infestation. XX green sorcery. Destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments. Create twice X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life.
Yeah.
This was your card.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, what's the name of that card again? Yeah, like, hold on. Yeah, no, this seems amazing. Yeah, like, this just now you can once again get a board just for killing a bunch of stuff you're gonna kill anyways. Like, this is amazing. Green now has a mass way to just pick off more artifacts and enchantments and just creates pests. I think, like, this is something I already was going to do, right? I was going to try to kill artifacts and enchantments, and I'm going to get rewarded by having a bunch of bodies.
Yeah, I feel like it actually scales pretty well. I don't know if I would play this in a generic deck, like a generic green deck, because green is pretty good at blowing up artifacts and enchantments, so there's a lot of options. On the other hand, if I have token synergies, then I think this card's actually really good because you get twice X tokens. It actually scales like Secure the Waste. Like, if you like cast this for 9 mana, you blow up for artifacts and enchantments, you're gonna end up with 8 1/1 tokens. That's really like efficient for a token producer. So yeah, I don't know if I would just play this as artifact and enchantment removal, but if I'm playing a token deck, I feel like this is going to be one of my go-to options for removal plus token creation.
Yeah, I think if you want tokens, like this with the Skull Clamp is insane. But the rate is like pretty bad if you don't want the tokens, right? Like 5 mana, kill 2 artifacts or enchantments. I guess that's okay. That's not like horrendous, but that's That's not cheap either. So you really do need the 1/1 creature tokens. And then, if you get to skull clamp them, or you're playing like an aristocrats type thing, or you just pump them like a coat of arms would kill someone right off of that. That'd be pretty sweet. You have doubling season. Obviously, this becomes even crazier. So yeah, I think it's actually pretty sweet. The art is pretty cool. So yeah, it is sorcery speed though. No instant speed shenanigans.
If this were instant, I think this would be just too good, right?
It would just literally be like secure the waste. Right?
Yeah,
right?
It would be insane.
Okay. So that's all the time we have for previews this week, since we went long on the other topics. We'll hold off fish mail until next week when things calm down, and then we can get to your questions. But yeah, so that is all the previews. Be sure to check them out on mtgpreviews.com. We have all 5 deck lists with all the new cards, so you can see which deck is to your liking. Okay, quick on the way out. What is your favorite deck of the 5 decks, each of us?
I actually like this. Okay, it's kind of weird to say this, but I think I like the Simic one. And then,
one.
The Quandrix one or Silver Quill. I like Silver Quill does not look like much at first, but I think it does a lot of cool things. From the silver, there's some cards we didn't even get to go over, right? Like there's still just a lot of things in Silver Quill that just look fun. They're not wild, I'm not making like 1,000 tokens or anything like that. I'm not copying all my spells, but it does look fun.
I gotta go Lorehold / Boros. Like, it has Asgeir, which is my favorite legend from the set, and I feel like it's a really unique take on Boros. Like, it still feels Boros-y and has the artifact theme, has some aggro themes, but it does it in a unique way where you have this artifact creature matter stuff. You have some grindy, like, reanimation value artifact synergies going on. So I really like the Lorehold deck.
I think I agree with both of you. Lorehold is number 1. Number 2 is Quandrix. I just like the artifact creature theme that it has going on. And it also, even though a lot of the cards, we talked about the mono white cards, we kind of said they were bad, or I said they were bad, it's still interesting to play with, to see if they're actually good or not. And then they actually have some cards I think are actually good in the set, and it's mono white Boros colors. I like white now, apparently. So yeah, I'll play. I'll play the white deck.
And on that note, I believe that brings us to the end of episode 324 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. So, Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about whatever goes down in the world of Magic. So until then, have an amazing week, everyone. And this is a crew signing out.